Dear trading friends, this is exactly what we want to see, isn't it? With the breakout from the descending trend, Bitcoin keeps pumping. And another positive thing, this target level down here has also been invalidated, since at this point we've broken through the previous high to the upside. And for that reason, I can go ahead and remove it from the chart, which I also find really awesome, because at this point, this bearish target level is simply gone. Of course, it looks much better right away. We still have liquidity and whale orders below us, but the upward trend we're seeing and continuing right now is already a positive sign. But I also want to show you a bit about where I see the next possible price targets for Bitcoin. We're going to do a Bitcoin analysis using the Fibonacci retracement levels and the Fibonacci extension levels. But we'll also take a look at the whale orders and large trades, as well as the new liquidations that are coming in right now. Why these are also very important will be super exciting here. But we'll also go live into the Coinglass legend a bit, because right now huge amounts of large orders are constantly coming in. I'm keeping an eye on this right now. Here, when these lines extend out, it just means there are large orders. For example, we see a larger order in this area, but earlier there was a $200 million short in this area here, which caused the first rejection. Will it hold? We'll see. I think we'll see even higher prices here. At least for now, the 72,329. Super interesting. Why is that? The first target level, I'll show you in a moment why I chose this target level for myself, and I might even try a small short. And even if it's just a tiny mini scalp short, but we have this high from this candle here. If we look at it closely, that was our candle high, just so I include it precisely. And that's at the 1.414 Fibonacci extension level. And at this point in time, that could possibly cause a rejection here. What else could support this? That we have new FIB levels exactly in this area. That means if we move up a little more, we might get a retest somewhere in here. Then the 0.5 Fibonacci would also come into this area if it comes to that, so that we get rejected here. I don't want to say it's going to happen yet, but I want to be prepared maybe for a retest. And if I have a Fibonacci confluence, whether I might go long then. On a smaller time frame, I could use another Fibonacci level in case we correct earlier now. That would even go down to the 0.618 here. So that's also very interesting. But for me, an incredibly interesting price level is actually, and now we have a triple confluence, the $75,160 approximately. Why is that? Here, I've drawn a second extension. I'd like to show my first extension and explain why I drew it that way. It's because of this breakout we had, a recovery, and that's our target level number one. 1.414, and then these smaller parts you see here, yes, 1.8, 0.9, 1.6, 1.8. That would be the first thing. For me, it's still valid because here we have this high due to the white line I've drawn, which could lead to a rejection, since that would be a consolidation breakout from this area here, number one. But we also have a second target level, which is very interesting to me right now. Just as we drew it here before, yes, with this correction downward where it could have come down here, but fortunately we have to say that didn't happen. We also have, because we've made a new massive high and haven't made a lower low, target levels up to 73 and even 75,000 US dollars again. And where I just placed the arrow, let's zoom in there. We can see here that we have a small overlap between the 1.618 of the first target level I mentioned to you. The smaller second target level would be roughly at the 2 Fibonacci extension here. And the third target level, which I will now explain why we might reach it, is the 0.5 Fibonacci level at around 75,160 US dollars. For me, that's definitely a short position. I know you don't want to hear that I'm shorting or that one should short when the market is rising, but I have to take this opportunity for myself, because overall we simply have a bearish trend. And if we look at my daily chart, for example, nothing really looks bullish at the moment. We could just have a small rally into these Fibonacci levels and then face another rejection. I can secure my position as quickly as possible, but this is definitely a level that I will target next for a short. Unless I see that we're already forming a larger divergence here, or this high here, which I mentioned earlier, is of course very interesting. But now let's take another look at the liquidation heat map, 72,000 to 73,800. Nice cluster on a 3-day basis. And if I go back here, we're exactly at this high that I just mentioned, where the 1.41 level is. I'm curious whether we'll reach that, and then I'll consider whether to take the risk on this small short for myself. Maybe just for a retest to see if I can take some profits here. Of course, it could also go completely wrong for me if we just keep rising now and the next levels are triggered without a pause. But then we also have to take a look at the whale orders. I want to show you a bit here. Yes, I've marked a larger section. So if I include this now, let's take this cluster here. You can see here, we currently have only in this area where we've just entered, right here upwards, this area that has now been taken out. There were actually 3.18 billion US dollars just on Binance and another 2.25 billion US dollars on OKX. We don't have any other exchanges included. There are over 5 billion US dollars in short positions here, while at the same time, within the same time frame, we've only filled 950 million in long orders on Binance and 500,000 on OKX. So actually, if we include what's happened here up to this point, it's quite little. So the difference is quite significant. But we must not forget, and we have to mention this, that from this previous area, there were also quite a few long orders that were triggered. And this exact area that we have here was not included in the count. And now it gets interesting again. There we already have a bit more. Here we have 2.4 billion triggered and 1.17 billion now at Binance and OKX. That means over 3 billion. Despite all that, there are still nearly 8 billion in shorts that have been filled. So you shouldn't lose sight of that. And I'm curious to see whether these 8 billion in shorts will actually be liquidated or if we'll see a correction here. Because above us, as of now, there are still 3.77 billion at Binance and 1.16 billion at OKX, but we also have 3.85 billion in buy orders at Binance below us, and that's at a price up to 61,000 US dollars. Of course, that's quite low now. That's 10,000 US dollars less. I'm going to raise it a bit now because what's really interesting is whether we can hold this support here. What we have here, where we've gotten a bit of support. And if we look at it now, I just noticed there was an update. It's just lagging a bit. There are actually 3.32 billion in short positions and 3.22 billion in long positions placed here. And that's just slightly below us, which of course has a positive aspect, again, to be honest, up to 65,000 US dollars. And that's really interesting to see. Accordingly, the short positions currently massively outweigh the long positions. But the question is, if so many people are short, isn't it interesting that we might trigger those liquidations above us, right? And what we're seeing here isn't filled yet. It's only partially filled because we still have a lot of unfilled orders below us. Exactly. It's very, very interesting right now when it comes to Bitcoin. For me, I'm not going long again or jumping into this pump. I'm waiting a bit higher up for a possible correction level. And at the latest, at 75,000 US dollars, I'll also open a short position. Everything else I have to watch closely at the current moment. Because if we also look at a smaller time frame on the liquidation heat map, 48 hours, we can see that we've just fished out a massive amount of liquidity. At the moment, things look very bullish for us based on the signs because we have a breakout and so on. But of course, I want to point out here that we've simply fished out a lot of liquidity and we definitely have to break through the last resistance to the upside, this candle high here. Because then we would officially have a confirmed bullish structure on a higher time frame, which would of course be extremely exciting for higher prices. Overall, to be honest, do I think that's it now? That we're just going to keep rising and are now in a parabolic run? I don't think so. So I think they're really still playing with us here and that we could see lower prices again. It doesn't have to happen. Of course, I don't want to be overly pessimistic here, but if we take a look, for example, at the monthly chart and examine the liquidations, what we have in this area has been very attractive and also just above us, precisely to fish that out, to pick that up. And for that reason, it's still exciting for me. Are we just picking up the liquidity now and then seeing ourselves lower again, or will this really remain stable? And that's exactly why in 12 hours, unfortunately not right now, I will keep checking in and take a close look at the next really massive cluster here because there's quite a lot lying here. We can also switch to symbol and see it again with all exchanges combined. And that's just extremely massive at the moment. Will it stay there? I almost don't think so. Maybe it will be taken out at the market opening. But by then, this video will already be online and we'll have picked up exactly this price range up to 72,330 US dollars. Let's take another look. Where is our high here? 200, guys. So these are really not coincidences. Just take a look at this. 72,329.6 US dollars is exactly where the 1,414 plus this last high is located. And right in this area here, 72,329 US dollars, we have the latest current liquidation cluster. This could actually cause a massive rejection here. We'll also see how many new orders or sell orders come in at these levels, because at 72,200, some positions have been placed. We can't see it right now, but we do have it here and we really need to be careful. 72,241. We can see here, folks, they're looking exactly at these highs here, where people, or rather, where the institutional players have currently positioned themselves. If I switch this up a bit now and say, let's only look at positions of 3 million, we can also see where 10 million comes in, where 20 or almost 30 million are currently set as limit orders in a mix of Binance and OKX. But we can also see how much is still below us in case we drop to 68,800 to 67,300. That could get interesting because we can see it down here in this area. And depending on how long that takes, it could lead us to a retest exactly in this region. That's why I'm happy about it. I hope that all of you who are long are, of course, making good profits. For those who are short, by the way, profits as well. I've finally got my swing positions here. Finally, they're a bit in the green again, though just barely. But still, Solana and XRP are taking a bit longer with the coin M positions. But I've also marked it here for myself. On Bitget, on the exchange chart, we can see what the current breakout in Bitcoin could mean, what we're currently seeing from this descending trend here. However, if we look at Ethereum here, it could actually hit the next major resistance. And I don't need to say it, it just looks like a big consolidation phase that could actually keep us going further. Therefore, if you have long positions there, definitely secure them, or maybe don't necessarily enter at a top up here somewhere, as long as there hasn't been a confirmed breakout to the upside. Even better, of course, would be a retest that would confirm everything again if we rise again, in order to then see a nice massive increase. That's all from my side for today. It was also nice to see, Pippin, that we closed the short bot in the Telegram group, Signal group. You can find the link for that in the video description for those interested, with a profit of a little over 120%. And apart from that, of course, things are looking very good with the bots right now, especially the CoinM bots, which are increasing the Ethereum holdings. Of course, it's exciting to watch because with a pump like this, not only are we following the trend, but we're also gradually generating grid profits in Ethereum again. Naturally, it's a lot of fun for me to see this happening and to notice it myself. But to be honest with you, I would have liked to see the price dip a little lower just to buy in massively and open new bots. That's why I still don't quite trust this rally, but we'll see. Until next time, bye.